So the next established invasive I want to talk about today is beech leaf disease. So beech leaf disease is a novel disease affecting all beeches in North America. So this is going to include your American, European, Oriental, and Chinese beech. This disease was first observed in Ohio in 2012 and was unfortunately detected in Vermont in 2023. Now, beech leaf disease is not actually a disease like its common name suggests. It's actually damage that's associated with a newly recognized subspecies of a leaf gall nematode, which is Lookalikes crenate messini. So nematode infection mechanisms are not fully understood yet, but new research is indicating that the nematode is associated with buds and leaves of beech trees of all age classes. So here's an electron scan microscope image of this nematode. Since this is a new pest, the spread of it's not yet known. It's possible that it can be spread by birds feeding on infested beech buds, by humans transporting infected plant material, through beech clone clusters along an interlocking root graft, or even by wind and rain splash. So what does beech leaf disease look like? In early stages of infestations, beech leaves begin to develop the striping pattern in between leaf veins as shown in these pictures. These bands are going to be visible immediately upon bud break in the spring, and they actually don't progress in severity throughout the growing season. In early infestations, these affected leaves may be unevenly distributed in the lower canopy, but the best way to see them is from viewing from below. So if you go underneath the tree and you look upwards into the canopy, in more severe infestations, the darker area is going to be observed as slightly raised and thicker than normal tissue, and this is sometimes referred to as leathery banding, and this can cause leaf deformation. This severe symptom often leads to chlorotic banding, which is later in the season, and that can get to like a yellow color, and you can also have premature leaf drop. Now, leaves with light, medium, or heavy symptoms of infestations, as well as leaves that don't look symptomatic at all, they just look like a regular beech leaf, can all occur not only on the same tree, but actually on the same branch. It's thought that this nematode is overwintering inside of the buds, and they actually affect the leaves before the bud break in the spring. So because of this, this can also cause aborted buds, which will be crispy and empty buds at the end of an infected branch, again, leading to dieback and mortality. So over time, infestations can lead to mortality, which is going to happen to all age classes. And mortality is typically observed within 2 to 7 years, but can be much more common in smaller trees and then trees with other stressors, such as beech bark disease. So here's the original distribution map by year that was posted in 2019. Notice that it first started in Ohio in 2012, but we had another pop-up detection in New York and Connecticut in 2019. We're not really sure at this time if this was just missed observations or if this was a secondary introduction. DNA work is ongoing to see if these populations are actually genetically different or not. As you can see in 2020, we then added Massachusetts and Rhode Island to the map. In 2021, Maine was added. The Maine detection is potentially a third introduction. Again, DNA work is going to be ongoing just because there's no other detection at this time made between northeastern Mass and New Hampshire. Also in 2021, many eastern states, including Vermont, set up monitoring plots to track the spread and mortality of beech leaf disease. So this could have contributed to filling in some of these gaps between detections, especially what we're seeing through Pennsylvania. Here's the distribution map of beech leaf disease in North America from February of 2023. So this is all of the 2022 data. Beech leaf disease was detected in 12 states in Ontario, Canada. And as you can see, New Hampshire was added to the map. And now this is the most current recent distribution in North America from December of this past year. We added 3 states, which was Maryland, West Virginia, and unfortunately us in Vermont. So now we have 15 states and Ontario, Canada. So in Vermont, we've had 2 detections in Windham County. The reports came from public observations using VT invasives and contacting our forest health team directly. Here are a few samples from the site in Vernon. Unfortunately, these symptoms are pretty severe. I'd call this a heavy infestation, which may indicate that this was a several year infestation. Nematode DNA from this site was actually also isolated from completely asymptomatic leaves on abutting trees. So even though they didn't show symptoms this year, we're anticipating they're going to be showing symptoms this growing season. There are a few things that look similar to beech leaf disease symptoms. A very common one is urinea mite patches. If we have a wet spring or summer, like we did last year, we do get increased reports of the fungal pathogen anthracnose. Aphid feeding can cause infested leaves to curl or roll. And then lastly, herbicide injury can cause some deformation and chlorotic banding as well. If you're unsure if you have beech leaf disease or one of these lookalikes, you can just take a picture or a sample and report it anyway. We'd always much rather get additional reports than risk missing an early detection report. So what's currently being done to control and or eradicate this disease? Currently, the main thing being done is research. There's so much unknown about this complex that a lot of time and resources are being devoted to it at the university, state, and federal levels. Several states have suggested the use of quarantines to slow the spread into new counties and states. However, again, because the vector is unknown, it's really hard to regulate. Some studies are looking into increasing genetic diversity of beech on the landscape, as well as selectively breeding for resistance. Many of you know this already, but beech trees love to sucker, meaning that every new sucker which grows into a tree is going to have those identical genetics to the host tree. And if there is some resistance to beech leaf disease, that could either be good or bad. I do want to mention in the upcoming slides just a few pesticide management suggestions you can find online. I am not endorsing either of these products. I just want to share these with you so you have the most up-to-date information so you're able to make your own informed decision. Also, a disclaimer that in Vermont, when we are talking about pesticides, the label is the law. So the first is phosphites or polyphosphite 30. This is a potassium fertilizer that's used as a fungicide. So Ohio researchers have been treating beech trees that are infested with beech leaf disease with this fertilizer and have been able to know a decrease in nematode populations and an increase in health and vigor over 5 years compared to untreated trees. Trees in this experiment did not have beech bark disease, which is something most Vermont beech trees do unfortunately have. Other scientists who have replicated their experiment have had pretty considerably differing results. This is probably due to the fact that it's a fungicide and beech leaf disease is a nematode. Again, it's just worth noting that positive results are likely just a result of increased health and vigor. Fertilizers help to stimulate the tree's natural defenses, and if you're increasing a tree's overall health and vigor, they're just much better at dealing with pests and pathogens. Another pesticide you may find online contains the active ingredient flylopram. Now, this is a foliar nematocide that also has pretty varying results in regard to beech leaf disease control. This nematocide is effective for other plant parasitic nematodes, but it doesn't always kill the egg stage. And this is really problematic for beech leaf disease because they have a staggered development. So the Lydialingus crenate messini has a staggered development.